You know that feeling, right? You're in a super high-stakes moment. You've practiced, you are completely prepared, and then it all just falls apart. It's this universal, and let's be honest, incredibly frustrating experience. So let's dive into the science behind why we choke under pressure, and, this is the important part, how we can actually stop it.
Okay, so picture this. The clock is ticking down to zero. Your favorite athlete, someone who's practiced this exact move thousands, maybe tens of thousands of times, is about to make the game-winning play. The crowd is just silent. Everyone is holding their breath. Everything they have worked for comes down to this one single moment.
And then it happens. A little stumble, a slight hesitation, a complete miss. The shot that should have been automatic, easy even, just goes wide. And just like that, the victory slips away. So what in the world just happened? Well, that athlete just went through something we all know way too well.
Yeah, it's called choking. It's that baffling, maddening failure that happens right when it matters the most, even after all those months or even years of dedicated practice. It honestly feels like your own skills have betrayed you.
And look, this is not just about athletes, not at all. This kind of performance anxiety haunts public speakers staring out at a sea of faces, or those poor contestants at the spelling bee microphone. It can even happen to world-famous musicians playing on the biggest stages imaginable. Bottom line, if the pressure is on, choking is a risk for pretty much anyone.
Now, most of us, we just blame it on nerves. I was just nervous. But that feels a little too simple, doesn't it? Why exactly does feeling nervous have the power to completely derail skills that we've totally mastered? That right there is the big question we're going to get to the bottom of.
Well, according to researchers, it really all boils down to focus. Or more specifically, how we lose it. There are two main theories that explain how this all goes wrong. Think of them as two different ways our brain just gets in its own way. On one side, you've got distraction, and on the other, you've got something called explicit monitoring.
So let's talk about our first suspect, the distraction theories. This is all about what's going on in your head when it gets cluttered with thoughts and worries that have absolutely nothing to do with what you're trying to accomplish right now.
It all comes down to a little thing called working memory. The best way to think about it is like your brain's mental scratch pad. It's what you use to juggle information in the moment. But when you get stressed out, all those worries and fears start scribbling all over that scratch pad, leaving way less room for the information you actually need to perform.
And you can see this in action. In one study, students were given some math problems. Now, when the problems were easy, no big deal. Everyone did fine. But as the questions got more complex, requiring more of that mental scratch pad, the stressed-out students performed way worse. Their working memory was just too clogged up with anxiety to solve the problems.
But distraction is only half the story. Let's move on to our second theory, which honestly explains a totally different and maybe even more frustrating problem: the curse of overthinking skills that should be completely second nature. I mean, check this out. A study on golfers found that once a skill, like a golf swing, becomes automatic from practice, trying to consciously control it actually makes your performance worse. Under pressure, we start to second-guess everything. We try to manually control every little movement, which totally disrupts that smooth, automatic process we worked so hard to build. It is literally paralysis by analysis.
Okay, so we've got distraction and we've got overthinking. Now for the good news. Choking is not inevitable. Far from it. Research points to some really clear, actionable things you can do to perform when it really counts. So, what can we do about it?
All right, here are the three big ones. First, practice under pressure. Simple as that. Get used to performing in stressful conditions so when the real thing happens, it actually feels familiar. Second, create a pre-performance routine. A simple ritual like taking 3 deep breaths or repeating a cue word to yourself can totally anchor you in the moment. And third, and this one is so important, focus externally. Instead of thinking about your arm movement or your foot placement, think about where you want that ball to go. Focus on the result, not the process.
So, when you put all this together, it kind of forces us to reconsider one of the oldest sayings we all know. We are all taught that practice makes perfect. But what we've just learned suggests that classic advice, well, it's missing a few key ingredients.
Maybe the saying needs an update. A new kind of perfect comes from practice that's done under pressure, with your focus aimed externally on that amazing end goal. That is the kind of practice that truly prepares you for the moments that matter most.
And that really leaves us with one final question for you to take with you. The next time you feel that pressure building, whether you're on a stage, in a meeting, or on a sports field,
You now know what's happening inside your brain. So when it matters most, where are you going to choose to put your focus?